very fitted. Did you have it
Right.
fitted or was it a camera?
By the way, this is rolling.
That's what I was
This is
talking
rolling.
about. Yeah.
This is rolling. So I'll just get you two together and just clear up this whole DeGALE Grove situation. Why the fans are being robbed of this wonderful fight. We want the fight. I want the fight. I want DeGALE to fight Groves. So, in your opinion, what did you say, Jeff?
I want Callum Smith to fight Groves. But he won't put George Groves in with Callum Smith.
He doesn't want to fight anyone, Joe.
You know, I think everyone's on
He
their
made
own,
too much money.
on their own mission, and I think at the end of the day, I think Eddie's ending up with a great shot on the 25th of April, and of course we're very disappointed with the way the WBC handled the matter. I think we're going to find a resolution in the next days that will suit all our sides, and I think it's a case of we're now at a situation where we're going to try and build up to that fight at some point in the future. The fight will come. It's not like it's not going to come. Everyone knows it will come.
So why isn't it coming 25th of April?
There's a few reasons. First of all, we didn't feel, or George especially didn't feel that the venue was big enough for the fight. You have to look at it like this. Eddie's got a big deal with Sky. He's obviously got his dates. The date also was an issue for George. So from our side, it's a fight that we want to build up. It's also a situation we were really, stuck with this WBC ruling, which it took a long time. We spoke a lot of times, and it was a case of waiting for it to arrive, and when it did arrive, it was the wrong one.
Eddie?
I'm not going to get into a debate with Kalle. He's a friend of mine. And me and George might have a little debate on Saturday night, but it was frustrating. George is not the easiest person to deal with. He's got his, he backs himself, and he has his understanding of his value. He has big value. We've seen him deliver big pay-per-view numbers, been involved in a huge show. I just felt like it was the right fight at the right time and the right opportunity. Quite right, the venue was too small, but with the Durrell situation, we would have had to get it done in April. And O2 holds 20,000. But, I hope George Groves goes on and wins a world title, and I hope James DeGALE goes on to win a world title. But perhaps one of the problems in boxing is that we can look at fights down the line, but you never know what's going to happen. If James DeGALE beats Andre Durrell and George Groves doesn't beat Anthony Durrell,
or vice versa,
yeah, I don't think we'll agree a deal, because the champion's going to want 80%, 75%, and then it's a definite no-go. If they both win a world title, my performance was better than your performance, and they can't stand each other, so they're not going to agree on anything. So,
if they are both world champions, isn't Eddie right in saying it could be a more difficult fight to make?
Yeah, although I've had murders to get on certain fights in the past, big fights, but also in the heavyweights, we've dealt with a lot of big difficult fights to put together. I mean, Eddie last year had a real long struggle to put together the Groves Froch 2 fight, but at the end it happened, because once the public appeal comes into it, of course it was big now, but imagine what it would be like when they're both world champions, and I think DeGale's got very good chances against Andre Durrell, and I think George beats Anthony Durrell. So, I'm an optimist, but I also, I see the argument that Eddie makes, which you take what's on the table now and do a bit. On the other hand, the situation from both camps was very different, right? So, DeGALE was in a fixed mandatory position with the IBF. We were mandatory, or we are mandatory with the WBC, but there was an appeal going in regarding a voluntary fight, and that's something where that's our business, and Eddie's got his business, and we've seen this weekend. We've put on quite a few shows together now, and I think there'll be a lot more to come. There's a little announcement we're going to be making shortly as well. Tomorrow. So, there's a lot of things that it's not going to not work because of Matchroom and Sauerland. It's if anything, the doors are easier. It's easier for us to come to a deal. But you're right. There's always egos in the business, but I think that's the case of if you look at Matchroom, you know, whether it's Eddie or Barry in the past, who've put on. You know, I wouldn't like to know how difficult it was to make Eubank Ben. You know, or you know, some of those big fights in the '90s. You know, big fights. The more difficult they are to make, that normally they're the ones that you know that you really want to see. And you know, I think, especially in Europe, we've got a good track record of getting those big fights on.
Kalle, who do you think currently sits in a better position, DeGALE or Groves? Just with everything involved, who do you think currently should lead a split, if you like?
I think that Anthony Durrell is a better fight. It's a fight. I've had a lot of experience with Andre Durrell through the Super Six. He's a slick boxer. I think Anthony Durrell is a guy who we believe we're going to beat. You know, I think Andre Durrell it's a tough one. But then again, it depends. I don't know how much form he's lost since the Super Six. You know, so on sporting terms, I think I think we're in a better position. On the other hand, you know, they're announcing a fight now, and we're a little bit looking at what our options are at the moment. But you know, we're confident, and you know, we turned it around pretty quick after the Froch defeat last year. We were back in an eliminator, you know, some 10 weeks later, you know, in the world title eliminator, which was quick manoeuvring. So the fact we have to wait, you know, a couple more months now to fight Anthony Durrell is something. If I look at the big picture, I think it's okay. You know, but we do want the right resolution to be found with the WBC in the meantime, and that's something that we're working on at the moment.
And Eddie, you will undoubtedly say that DeGale's in a healthier position than George Groves right now.
Yeah, I think if you look in terms of the splits, I think you'd have to say that Groves was at the moment the bigger draw slightly, but because of the positions that we're in at the time, in terms of the IBF split on a vacant title is 50-50. James DeGALE was number 1, George Groves was number 4. The opportunity was being presented to George Groves by James DeGALE, not the other way around. We could maybe get a shot with Andre Durrell waiting, and this can happen. But George obviously had the opinion he was worth 65, 35, whatever. But I believe we're in a slightly... I think Kalle's right. We've got the tougher fight, but I think they're more likely to have to travel, although I think hopefully with a resolution they get a better chance of getting it in the UK. But we look like we're nailed on for the UK. Which I think gives a massive advantage. But George can beat Anthony Durrell. I think he's the underdog in the fight. And I think DeGALE is... I'm not sure who the underdog... I think if it was in America, it would be an underdog, but in the UK, it might just be a 50-50 fight. So I think they're both going to get found out in terms of who's got what it takes to beat elite-level fighters. George hasn't been able at the moment to beat elite-level fighters. He was fantastic in the first fight against Froch, and now he's got to go on and fight pretty much an elite-level fighter in Anthony Durrell, and DeGALE has got to fight an elite-level. I appreciate they fought each other. They weren't elite-level fighters when they boxed the first time. It was for a British title. Now you're in a situation where DeGALE, if he wins that world title, he deserves that 1,000,000%, and so does George Groves. If he goes to America or whatever and beats Anthony Durrell, he deserves to be champion. It's like, hopefully we're in a conversation in 6-7 months' time where one's the IBF champion and the other one's the WBC champion.
I think from our side, I think the main message is that we want the fight, but we believe that it can be a huge fight, a massive fight. A fight that that can fill, we're hoping, a football stadium. And I think that that takes a while to build up. And I'm not saying that the Groves DeGALE story is something that's just come around the corner. I think it's been around a few years now, but it's starting to get interesting.
Will George fight before a potential Durrell fight?
Yeah, I don't think you're expecting him out. But once again, I want to see what we can get from the WBC, and take it from there.
All right. Well, when we're going to have your announcement, you two?
We're just running the press release now. Winkle's just doing. I need a quote from Kalle.
Why don't you just tell us about it? By the time this goes out, that press release will already be out.
No, we'll do something. We'll do something on Friday.
Always on the ball, Coog.
There's a couple of things. It's good news for UK fight fans and German fight fans,
Absolutely.
and Matchroom and Sauerland.
Oh. Best pals.
Oh, we're a new breed, you know.
Yeah. Who's got the more expensive suit on, by the way?
Listen, I feel like a mess today. Look at this geezer, Tom Ford head to toe, and there's me. It's just a little poxy Jeeves and Hawks, you know.
Ever since you put that tweet out,
What
it
one?
was like in the last year when you were going on about, what was it, Tottenham
Debenhams.
Debenhams,
in
wasn't it?
Tottenham.
I've just,
You
every
have
time
got
I've...
some rascal jackets. That green one you got.
It's
terrible.
What, the one that's about £8,000?
Yeah, but it's no excuse. I'm like, Callum, what is that jacket? It's £8,000.
It's a Savile Row covert coat. Right?
Still a rascal. It's like that. That's quality. I mean, I couldn't wear that because of my sort of
fitted.
side bits hanging out my waist. Do you know what I mean?
Kalle Sauerland, Eddie Hearn, thanks for talking to IFL
Look at this
TV.
guy. Look at the designer clobber. Moncler coming out of his
jacket,
garage.
Of course, he's sponsored. I mean,
Sponsored by
if I
Canon.
was paid money to wear a T-shirt, they're not.
I know. You've got more sponsors than the average show.
That'll be the day I know I made it.
Someone tweeted the other day saying, since KUGAN CASSIUS has started making a few quid, his service has gone right down the
Right
pen.
down,
The
And
service that
he's
no one
talking
pays
about going-
for.
He's talking about going subscription on IFL. Yeah, he won't do it.
I've never said
You
that.
are. You said it in my
I've
office
never
the other
said
day.
that. I said
Don't
that.
lie.
No, I
Don't
said
give
that's
me
the,
stick about pay-per-view anymore. You're going
That's-
subscription.
that's a
You have to
YouTube
subscribe
option
to
that's
watch
coming in.
videos.
You can do that now. We don't do that.
Yeah, but you will.
How do you know?
All right, mark my
But
words.
you're-
Within 12 months, IFL will be a subscription service. Look at you.
I bet you ain't. Oh, I bet you ain't.
All right, then.
Well, I
Go on,
thought
then.
stick free to air because I mean,
How much?
free to
Have a
air.
one.
£1,000.
Oh,
£1,000 that it won't.
well, it won't be a subscription
It won't
service.
within 12 months. Go on in. Go on in. Go on in.
Well, I
Oh, 500
dunno.
quid. 500 quid.
500 quid.
500 quid. Go on.
Can I help make it a subscription service?
No.
No?
No, 500 quid that it won't be.
The bum's going a little bit for a 500.
Go on.
What about a pony?
No, 500 quid. Come, what's 500 quid to you?
Go on.
All right, you've seen this. It's on our IFL
500
TV
quid.
video.
1 year from this date.
1 year from this date. It won't be. Thank you very much for talking to IFL TV, and we'll see you guys at the
Thought
weigh-in.
about going subscription. It was a great idea.
No. I'm going to come to your gym tomorrow.
You're always welcome.
Thank you very much.